I'm Billy Derrick, and I'm now happy to be joined by Rhett Wiseman, the national champion Vandy boy, of course, from 2014. He's been on a little bit of a hiatus. That's been my fault. That's been the Dore Report's fault. But we finally got Mr. Rhett Wiseman back, and Rhett jokingly tweeted, I said, as the LSU beatdown continues, we've got you back on the podcast to calm the nerves a little bit, like you know how to do. So you got a tough task tonight, calming the Vandy boys fans' nerves because they need it right now.
Oh, Billy, thanks for having me as always. Love coming on. Look forward to it. Um, you know, again, how many series we got to win and one loss? We can't let it, take over. We're in a great spot. We're in the driver's seat for this thing, and it's just one game at a time. Keep in mind it's Devin Futrell's first ever home SEC start in his entire career. He's still a baby, right? Everyone's forgetting all the times that Bueller got crushed at home or Fulmer lost games. It happens. Everyone take a deep breath. It'll be okay.
I love it. The Aaron Rodgers relax. We need to get Rhett Wiseman to coin that right now. But Will Byram and I, my co-host, were talking earlier about how Vanderbilt had a huge series win over Arkansas, took 2 out of 3. And obviously that's huge. That's awesome. But at the same time, you still got a series at home left, to play against an LSU team that's coming into Nashville after getting swept by Ole Miss last weekend. So the SEC, as you know, Rhett, never slows down. In the course of a season, you get a sweep. Say you get a sweep, or you get a 2 out of 3 series win. There's really no time to dwell on it too much, or celebrate it, or even be down on yourself. So it kind of evens itself out. When you lose a game, you're able to play another game in a couple days. When you get a series sweep or a series win, you got to get right back at it and try to keep that rolling. So we've talked with you about this kind of stuff a lot, but how tough is that to kind of, if you got the bus rolling, how tough is it to kind of keep it on the right track, especially this time of year?
Yeah, Billy, it's just about consistency. You have to just be consistent in your emotions. In this league, it's very easy to just ride the highs, and it's very easy to just ride the lows all the way down and keep going until you're, out and done and dead and gone. But the same goes for when you're winning. Right, you look at what we're watching tonight. You have Vandy coming off of a series on the road, taking a road series from a top 5 team, and I think Arkansas had won like 18 or 19 straight home series. So that's just crazy. Vandy goes in there and they absolutely they own the environment, they own everything. Then they come home and they face an LSU team who got swept by a bad Ole Miss team. Now, Ole Miss is playing well, but it's the worst team they've had in 20 years at Ole Miss. And then LSU comes into Vandy and they're up, 11-2. Mm-hmm. So this game, you have to just stay consistent. Everybody's good. Every team is good. Just an off weekend here, an off weekend there doesn't represent a team as a whole. And, this is just an off night for Vandy. It happens. It's a game. It's a young team, and that's the stuff that they'll learn.
Rhett, Enrique Bradfield, we've talked about him a lot, of course, throughout the course of this season since you've been on. But I don't think we do it enough. I know, we've mentioned him every time you've came on, but he's 41 for 41 on the base pass. I mean, the weekend he had against Arkansas last weekend, his average, I think, was around 280, 290. He got it all the way up to about 332 in the 330 range over the course of one weekend. It's pretty incredible. Do you remember a Vanderbilt baseball player in the past, decade or so under Tim Corbin that makes more of an impact when he's on the base pass like he does? Because it feels like when he gets on first base, boy, not just the pitcher, but everybody is on high alert when he's on first base.
No, I mean he's a one in a decade type player. Not only do I not remember anybody in a Vanderbilt uniform, I don't remember anybody I've ever played against, ever played with that is that explosive. He's a game changer. it's as if you have, somebody else who can hit home runs and hit doubles. He has so much ability to impact a game and change a game with just his speed. First of all, you don't see that anymore. There aren't genuine uh, base stealers anymore. It's a dying art, and for him to have 41 bags is just crazy. He's one of, if not the best player in all of college baseball, in my opinion. And he just has the ability to carry the whole team. Personally, I've never seen anything like it as far as his ability to carry a whole team without having a plus plus power tool. You look at guys that can carry teams offensively, and usually those guys look like JJ Bleday. They look like Austin Martin. They look like guys who hit, mid 350s to close to 400 with incredible doubles numbers or insane home run numbers and super high slugging, super high OPS. That's not Enrique Bradfield. Now, is he second on the team in home runs? Yeah, he is, because he's just such an unbelievably good contact hitter. Players that make contact, they miss balls and they can hit them out. But one of the great things about Enrique is his speed just plays up so much because he can just get on base and impact games that way. There's no such thing as a single. A single turns into a double turns into a triple, a single turns into a triple, and like we saw last week, a walk or a single can turn into a home run when he steals home. So, definitely one of the most explosive players in the game, and it's just so fun to watch.
No doubt about it. They're going to need him to really perform the rest of this weekend. I think he's 0 for 4 tonight. That's a situation where, say, Enrique goes 4 for 4 tomorrow night, that could really change the trajectory of this team. And you look at last weekend and even the midweek game against MTSU, he was 4 for 4 with a walk. And all weekend, it felt like he was getting on base every time. So, Rhett, is Enrique the type of player for this team? Obviously, he's a spark plug. He's the straw that stirs the drink. But when you look at him, is it a situation where you say, okay, if Enrique's on, this team's usually on?
I don't know about that because he's on what seems like every at bat, and the team isn't they're not 51-0, right? He as much as he can carry a team, he's not the whole team. You need the guys behind him to step up, and you need the guys behind him to play well too. Um, You'll see Jack Bulger is playing great, hitting in that 2-hole. That is without a doubt the best place to hit in perhaps the entire country, because with Bulger, he is a really good contact hitter, and he's going to get all fastballs because nobody wants to throw any off speed with Bradfield on base. Guys don't want to mess around. They have to go right after Bulger all the time. They have to be super fast to the plate. They can't give the attention to Bulger that they may want to keep that attention with him. And they have to throw fastballs, because if they throw breaking balls, they might miss in the dirt. It's an automatic second base. If they throw balls that take a while to get to the plate, 70 miles an hour, low 80s miles an hour, 69 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour, it takes too long to get to the plate. It's an automatic stolen base. The catcher's not even going to have a chance to throw guys out. So being in that 2-hole is huge. Spencer Jones obviously killing it, having a historical season in that 3-hole, and he's been great. And then Dom Keegan, who's just Mr. Consistency every single year with the great bat, and he's got the power tool, he's got the contact tool, and I think the success of this team is going to completely be predicated on the middle of the order and the bottom of the order. This team will be however far they go is going to be purely determined by the bottom of this order from an offensive standpoint.
I completely agree there, and we'll get into offensively a little bit later, Rhett. But I want to go to pitching a little bit, and specifically this weekend, Corbin decided to give Carter Holton a weekend rest after I don't think he had a full weekend rest throughout the season. That's similar to what he did with Jack Leiter last season, but you saw him off and Christian Little now inserts the equation on Friday night, tomorrow night, and tonight you saw Futrell struggle, you saw Riley struggle a little bit, and now you got McIlvain who's going to go on Saturday in Game 3. You've seen this before with Corbin. He did it when you were playing 2014, 2015, of course 13 too, where kind of towards the end of the season, if they need a switch up like this, he'll do it. I mean, no matter when, when they are in the season, where they are in the season, he will switch things up. Why in particular do you think he decided to give Holton the rest and then maybe play around a little bit with maybe let's throw Little in on Friday night and just mix it up? Why do you think Corbin decided to do that this weekend?
Well, number one, with Holton, you have to give him a week off. He's a freshman coming off of 118 pitches, complete game shutout last weekend at 7 innings. You have to. He's never thrown that many pitches. He's never thrown this consistently in his career. You have to give him a break. If out there again this weekend, it's a recipe for disaster. He's going to be your guy in the postseason. You have to give him rest. I think Coach Corbin also understands the value of the SEC tournament also. So now instead of Holton pitching this weekend, he'll most likely start what I would imagine is Game 1 of the SEC tournament would be my guess. And that way they can, that SEC tournament will have a huge impact on what the postseason picture looks like. So giving him a couple days is still going to have a huge impact on this team as far as where they're going to end up in the postseason by just pushing him back a couple days. Christian Little, you got to keep giving him opportunities. You have to keep putting him in high pressure situations and hope you can turn him into a diamond. That is what is going to get him to that next level. He's got so many tools. I would love to see Christian Little get innings in every high pressure situation to try and just get him over that hump of being as good as he can be, because he shows glimpses of greatness. So, I love giving him the start tomorrow night. We're still going to be able to use Holton next week in the SEC tournament. And, we move McIlvain, who's got Friday night experience, to Sunday, and we try and shore up a win on Sunday.
Rhett, they're playing on a Thursday night tonight. I know a few times in your career you played on a Thursday night. I'm sure, of course, with exams over at this point in the season, these guys could care less when they play. If it's a Thursday night, a Tuesday night, a Sunday afternoon. How did you like playing on Thursday nights? Of course, it was probably maybe a little bit more difficult in season, in school season at least, but after exams, I'm sure it got a little bit easier. But for you as a player, did you enjoy playing on a Thursday night?
Billy, I loved it. I loved it. You know why?
Why?
Because there wasn't a game on Sunday, which means you could go out Saturday night. That's what we all used to love. That we'd have this weekend circled on the calendar, baby. We'd say Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. See ya, we're gone. So
I love it. I love it.
It's an opportunity we don't really have. You're in season. You're not going out. You're so strict on the schedule. You have school. You don't go out. You don't socialize. You don't do anything. It's baseball, baseball, baseball. So having a season, having games like this, where usually the last series of the year is always a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because you need to be able to save pitching for the Tuesday SEC tournament. So I remember Saturday night, that last game, we'd all kind of go out, celebrate, end of the SEC, getting ready for the SEC tournament. Good time to blow off steam, whether we win, lose, tie, draw, whatever it was. We kind of put a cap on the end of the season and be able to take that in with the guys. So I loved it personally. It was the best. We'd have it circled. Now, Billy, back in my day, we used to, this Thursday night was usually like the SEC game of the week.
Yeah.
Now people don't even know that because SEC Network has a million channels and everything's streamed through SEC Network Plus. But back in the day, back in the good old days, it was, the ESPN would pick up your game it'd be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That would be the series of the week, which thankfully, and we were blessed. We were on it a lot because we would win a lot. We were really good. So we'd always play on it. So we loved that Thursday, Friday, Saturday schedule. Plus, it gives everybody an extra day. we have an extra day off between that Tuesday. It gives pitchers an extra day to throw, and obviously it cuts them short a day on the front end, but it gives them a day on the back end as far as rest goes.
Rhett, I feel stupid asking you this, but I got to ask you about the 26-3, the record and for best record in the SEC ever for college baseball team. Were you on that team?
Yes.
Okay. Let's get that out of the way. I figured you were. I didn't want to start talking about it if you weren't on it. Um, there's a lot of talk right now about the Tennessee Volunteers, and deservedly so. The way they're playing right now, they almost look unbeatable. They have been beaten, but they lost the series to Kentucky 2-3 a couple weeks ago. And after they lost, I think it was after they lost game 3, they were not eligible to have the best SEC record in the regular season ever anymore. Vanderbilt, there was a little bit of a celebration there from Vandy fans, but when you look at this Tennessee team and the way they've played, and kind of look back, obviously you were a freshman, I think, in that 2013 season. You look back and kind of being able to sit back and watch that 26-3 team, which is incredible. Who's better? I mean, there's a lot of talk about it right now. Obviously, going 26-3 is incredible, but when you compare those two, it's probably might be a little bit tougher because of the eras potentially. But being able to sit back and watch a 26-3 team in 2013 and kind of compare it to what Tennessee has done this year, can you compare that?
I don't know. It's a totally different era. It's different bats. It's different balls. It's dead balls back then. The league was different. The players were different. But the one thing I see about Tennessee, which was the one thing that happened with us, we didn't know how to lose.
Hmm.
That's a real thing. And you saw it when Tennessee went to Kentucky. You have to know how to lose. It's kind of funny to say, but the reason that we lost in the Super Regional that year in 2013 to Louisville was because we were playing at home in a Super Regional. We were national seed. I forget what we were ranked, maybe 1, 2, 3, whatever it was in the country. And we came in and we lost the first game of the Super Regional, and we were like dumbfounded. We had never lost, a game. We didn't know how to lose. We were shell shocked, and we came back the next day and we lost because we just didn't know how to lose. We didn't know how to come back from a loss. So that is a real thing, and that is a fate that is very, very real. And I going 26-3 is great. I would have rather gone 20-10.
You wouldn't recommend it.
I would rather have gone 20-10 and had, and wished that we as a unit would have been able to come back from losses better than we did, because we just even in the regional that year in 2013, we lost one game in the regional, and we had to fight back and play in an elimination game in a regional championship. So we were not a good team when it came to losing. So we just that is a big part of it. And for Tennessee, that I promise you, that's going to be their biggest adversary as they keep going. One loss, and if they can't come back from it, it's devastating because you only get 2 losses.
Yeah, you're right about that. It'll be fun to see how a lot of different things shake out in the postseason. But, Rhett, I got a couple more here before I let you go. For Vanderbilt to host a regional, I was talking about earlier in our segment 1 about how I think they got to beat LSU 2 out of 3, or if it's a sweep, even better, to host a regional. And I think at this point, if they beat LSU this weekend, they'd be a lock, mainly because of their RPI. I mean, it's at 3 right now, which is pretty incredible. What they've done in the midweek. But for you, Rhett, in terms of, practically games they have to win, but also what you need to see from this team in the next couple games, maybe heck, even later tonight. But in the next couple games in Hoover, and then practically maybe how many games this team might need to win to host a regional. I know there's a lot there, but basically, what has to happen for this team to host a regional here in a couple weeks?
Yeah, well, there's a couple different things that need to happen. Number one, they need to win the series at LSU. I think if they win the series at LSU and they put together just somewhat of a decent showing at the SEC tournament, I think they're in. If they don't win the series at LSU this weekend, they have to maybe win the SEC tournament to be a top 16 seed. So it'd be nice to not have to have the pressure to win the SEC tournament, considering that is the hardest tournament in the country. In my opinion, it's harder to win the SEC tournament than it is to win a national championship because the teams there are better and they know you better. You've played them during the season and they are monsters, and playing in Hoover is so incredibly hard. You're playing games at 8 a.m., 9 a.m. with 95% humidity. You wake up in the morning, it's already 100 degrees. There's nobody at the games and the ball doesn't go anywhere. It's awful, awful to play there. So, you don't want that to be what is mounting pressure on you. You want to be able to win this series, go to Hoover, get some good work in, win some games, have a good showing there. I think if they win this series and go to Hoover and have a good showing, they're going to be in great shape and have the opportunity to host at home. If they don't win this series, they have to really go far in the SEC tournament. And then I still don't think it's a lock unless they win the whole thing.
Rhett, you talked about you were bad mouthing Hoover. I'm actually going to be down there for the first time next week ever, and I'm excited. Probably more so because I'm more of a Southern guy. You being from Boston, it may not be the most appealing, especially for some of the other Vanderbilt players that they may not think of Hoover as, oh, can't wait to get down to Hoover and play in the SEC tournament. I'm excited, but what was it like? I mean, you talked a little bit about it, but obviously some teams treat it as a tournament to where they can build momentum before regional. Some teams could care less. I mean, obviously that's not how they're treating it, but it sometimes feels like that where you see teams, they're 2 in barbecue and, then they make a run in the NCAA tournament and the SEC tournament results simply don't matter. So, overall, did you enjoy playing there? And then secondly, what does it mean? Like what people have said it's meaningless. Other people have said it really does matter. So kind of as a whole, your perception of Hoover and playing there, and kind of the emotions. What would you say there?
It's very intense and emotions run high because there's a lot of teams that have a lot to win and a lot to lose from that tournament. Vandy's going to have a ton to gain in that tournament. They're going to be really, really needing to win games. It's not going to matter for Tennessee. They could probably go 2-Q out of that tournament and still be the best team in the country and still be number one. It doesn't really matter for them. So going into it, of course, everyone's going to be trying to win the tournament, but it's going to mean different things for different teams. If I'm Tennessee, I'm trying to get guys innings. I'm trying to get guys at bats. I'm trying to get guys ready for the big show. You start the year, you don't want to win a conference championship. You want to win a national championship. The conference championship just comes with it. In 2013, we lost in the championship final, and then we lost in a super regional. In 2014, we got destroyed in the SEC tournament, got slaughter ruled by LSU. It was an embarrassment. Got our asses kicked by Ole Miss, and then won a national championship. And then in 2015, we lost in the SEC championship game final, and then went on to be the national runner-up. So it doesn't matter. You just have to make the most of the tournament. And, the best thing for us in 2014 was getting smoked, because for us, it brought us together. We were like, wow, we stink. We need to clean this up. We need to right this ship. We need to get this thing on the right path. And then in 2015, we were trying to get guys ABs. If you go back and look at some of the box scores, we got guys in those games. We showed a ton of different players because we knew that we needed to use that tournament as a stepping stone for the national championship. We needed to get guys in the game who might have to play in the NCAA tournament. We got to get them ABs. This is going to be the last time we're going to be able to get guys ABs and innings on the mound. So it's going to be really important for some teams. It's going to be not as important for other teams. You got to go with the intent on winning and doing what's best for you for the NCAA tournament. That is my opinion on it.
Which is the most important. I mean, really nothing else matters other than regionals, supers, and Omaha. And then, of course, when you get to Omaha, boy, talk about a gauntlet. That's quite the gauntlet, Rhett, and you've seen it a couple times, and we'll see if Vanderbilt has what it takes this year. There's a lot left on the table for them, and they've got these next two games here in Nashville against LSU to kind of right the ship. Looking forward to postseason play, Rhett. We're really going to be amping it up with you. I know you're going to be locked in and getting excited for it too. Thanks again for taking the time tonight, and
Billy, I just want to say this, and this is something that has been bothering me all week. I want to talk real quick. I know we're running out of time. I want to talk about the RPI this week.
Here we go.
Okay. I've never seen anything like it. And I just want to say that the teams that canceled their games this week because they were afraid to lose is the most cowardly, poor show of competitiveness I've ever seen. And I saw some great coaches this week cancel games. If I was a player on some of those teams, I probably wouldn't say another word to that coach for the rest of the year. You want to talk about being in a clubhouse where your manager, the guy who is running your ship, who you look to for guidance, you look to for support, doesn't believe in you enough to win a midweek game. I don't care who you're playing. It is an act of pure cowardice. It is ridiculous. And if I was that coach or any coach that canceled games this week based on RPI, I would be ashamed of myself. I think that is the biggest show of weakness and an unbelievable lack of confidence in the guys in your locker room. I'd be ashamed if I was a player on that team. I'd be embarrassed of my coach. And obviously, it wouldn't matter if you put these Vandy guys in a situation like that and said, if we lose this midweek game, we're not going to the tournament at all. They still wouldn't cancel that game. I'm absolutely beside myself. And thinking about the players on that team, I might not even dress out on Friday night, knowing that my coach didn't have confidence in me and the guys beside me to play in a midweek game. It's shameful.
I think you couldn't have said it better, Rhett, and that's kind of the Tim Corbin in you. I think Tim Corbin has instilled that in so many other players, and I know damn well Tim Corbin would never do anything like that. I know a lot of other coaches that wouldn't that would never do anything like that. And so with that being said, I just think there's a lot of that going on in college sports as a whole, but specifically baseball. I couldn't agree with you more. I think you said it best, and it's ridiculous. It's an absolute joke that is going on in college baseball, and you're talking about lessons. That you want to teach players. That's the lesson you're teaching your guys. That's pretty pathetic. So I couldn't agree with you more. I to be honest, Red, I think a lot of those teams might be looking back saying, "Hey, maybe we should have gotten this pitcher a rep, or maybe we should have gotten this batter an extra rep." I think they'll be looking back in a bad way about it. So couldn't agree with you more, Rhett. We'll talk a little bit more RPI when when Vandy potentially wins this series. They might get boosted up, but Rhett, thanks again for taking the time, my man.
Thanks, Billy. Thanks for having me.
Have a good one.
You too.